Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, we have got Chelsea, and she's going to be giving you a life update whilst she does a get ready with me. And that's crazy because she can't multitask to save her life. So, can she do it? Yes, she can!
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to the channel, my name is Chelsea. I'm 28 years old and I live in Oxfordshire in the UK with my boyfriend of 6 years, James. It will actually be our 6-year anniversary on the 4th of November. We live in a Tourer caravan on a privately owned campsite, and we've been living in a Tourer caravan for over a year now, since July 2022. So I started my YouTube channel in August 2022, which was last year, so it has now been over 1 year since I have been on YouTube. I just do like lifestyle vlogs. It's just basically all about moi. So I've done a couple of series. I've done like a life story series, a mental health series, but waffling over. I have recently changed what I do. So I normally posted sit down videos like every Sunday, but I got to a point where I felt like I'd said my life story and I'd said everything that I actually needed to say. So I was running out of ideas, and then with my full-time job and running my print-on-demand Etsy shop in the evenings, which I only started at the end of July this year, so only a few months ago, I found that trying to film every week and upload every week was an absolute nightmare. Even if I do have a video editor. Shout out to Estelle, my video editor. I have changed. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm doing vlogs every other Sunday. But today is not a vlog. I wanted to do a vlog today. I wanted to do like a buy everything on the Starbucks autumn menu, and then me and James would give like a life update together, but he is now with his friends airsofting for the day, and I'm just going to do it by myself whilst I get ready. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not doing anything. I'm just getting ready for the sake of the content of this video. Like, I'm not even going anywhere. I have written a list of things that I need to update you on. This is the realest life update in the world. So we need to update you on 6 things. There is a 7th, which was the first one, but it's basically just jobs and there's nothing to update you on. But let's do this. Sleeves up. Let's get down to business. So the first thing on my list was jobs, but there's actually nothing to update you on. So James is still in his full-time job in construction as a diamond core driller and cutter. Nothing to do with diamonds, by the way. And he's been doing that for 6 years now. I'm still at my full-time job Monday to Friday, but I'm not allowed to talk about it, unfortunately. Long ting. I work 2 days from home and then 3 days in the office, but the 3rd day doesn't actually have to be in the office. It can be that I go and do like a site visit, and then I work the rest of the day from an office, or if I'm nearer to home, then I can just do it at home. I haven't been doing many of those site visits because I only returned to this job in July, and it's a new role from what I did before, so I have just been kind of settling in. I think I'm probably going to start doing those site visits from January when it's like a fresh year, and that's the plan. I did find out though that the maternity pay is amazeballs. It's basically 6 months full pay, which is incredible. Like, absolutely extraordinary, and I feel extremely lucky to have that opportunity. Okay, so that is all to update you on the job front. So I am still doing my full-time job. I'm still running my print-on-demand Etsy shop in the evenings. I started it at the end of July this year, so a few months ago, and I've had 8 sales so far. I did yesterday just have to issue my first full refund because a customer ordered a mug and it was dispatched on Thursday the 5th of October, which was by like Royal Mail 48 tracked, so there was a tracking number. So it should have been delivered on the Monday this week, and it is now Sunday. So basically it's been over a week since it was dispatched. I tracked it with Royal Mail, and it basically says like, the sender has advised that they have sent the parcel to us, something along those lines anyway. So basically they're still waiting for the parcel to arrive, but I know that the print provider I partner with already dispatched it. So it has got lost in transit between the print provider and Royal Mail. I just said, I've issued you a full refund. I'm so sorry. And then I'll keep you updated. Many thanks, Chelsea. That was basically what I said. I just made that really long-winded. So the next point was my debt. So as we all know, I'm in debt like 18 grand. Actually, no, I'm down to just under 17 grand now, but I pay £468 every month as a repayment, and it's going to take me another 6 years. I'll be like 34 by the time I'm debt free. But because of the interest, which is like 29.9% APR, they would end up getting like over double back from me. I think it was like 36 grand or something by the time it's all paid off. So I spoke to like a financial expert, and he was like, why don't you apply for another loan? So for example, NatWest, they have like a 7.9% APR interest rate, which I think is pretty good, and then basically borrow how much I owe to the bank that I'm currently with, pay it off, and then I would just pay NatWest back. This is like an example. Or get a 0% credit card. But, so I went on to ClearScore and I looked at my credit score, and it was like 500 and something, which is apparently good. But I kept getting rejected. I got rejected from NatWest for a personal loan. I got rejected from HSBC for a personal loan, and I got rejected for a 0% credit card. So I went back to this financial expert, and it was then that he realised that my loan wasn't just one loan. It was where I had borrowed like several loans over the last 4 years, and I'd combined them into one, and that was why my interest rate was so high. And he said, although my credit score was good, I should look at it as like red flags. So every time I have borrowed a loan, I've got a red flag, and I've borrowed money like, I want to say like 5 times now, so that's 5 red flags already. Every time I've tried to borrow money but I've been rejected, that's still another red flag. So I probably have about 10 red flags minimum. So when I go to apply for a new loan or a credit card, my record is like 10 red flags. It doesn't matter about my credit score at this point, it just matters about my red flags. And he said that I am probably like high risk. So there is no way that I'm going to be able to borrow a personal loan or a 0% credit card. The only thing I could do is wait a 12-month period, try not to borrow any money in that 12-month period, and then see if I get accepted after that. As soon as my debt is cleared, I will tell you that my debt is cleared, and I will be full of beans. I will have like double the amount of money to myself every month than I do now, which is not a lot because 2 weeks after I get paid, I have no money. So I need my debt cleared. We did work out though that if this last resort ends up going ahead, then I will have cleared my debt by 2 years maximum. I will be like 30 when my debt is cleared instead of 34. So, like honestly, I am keeping my fingers crossed. I am touching wood that the last resort is going to go ahead, because that is what I'm relying on now. And if that doesn't get accepted, then I'm basically screwed for the next 6 years, and there's nothing else I can do about it. So the next thing I wanted to update you on is housing. So as much as we have loved being in the Tourer caravan, not paying council tax, and just generally only paying £227 each a month on bills, so that's like £454, and that is it. No council tax or TV license or anything like that. And as much as we have loved that, living in a Tourer caravan is just not ideal going forward, like in the future. I do not believe that we could raise a child in this caravan, because when they're a baby, maybe that's not too bad, but when they become like a toddler, and I just want them to have their own privacy, I want them to have their own private bedroom where they can get their privacy, we wouldn't be able to provide that to them, and we would end up having to get a caravan that has like a bedroom with bunk beds, so we would be sleeping on a sofa bed, and it just wouldn't be ideal. And then on top of that, in the winter, so last year was our first winter here, and it was an really cold, like absolutely freezing. I remember waking up in the morning and we'd get in our car and our car said like -12. I don't know what happened with the winter last year, but I feel like it was the coldest UK winter I've ever known in my life. Our water bottle was frozen, and all of the other taps outside on the site were frozen, so we were having to brush our teeth using bottled water, wash our hands after the toilet using bottled water. We'd have to go to James's parents' house to have a shower, and it was just something else. Like, I remember one night my toes were so cold that they were actually hurting, and I was like, no, I'm done, we're gonna stay in a hotel tonight. We didn't. That was me being dramatic. I was kind of exaggerating, but it was just no. So we have applied to the housing register for council housing. That's basically an easier way of saying council housing. So we applied in July, and then in September, which was 2 months later, we emailed the council, or should I say emailed the council to ask for an update because our application had not been processed, it had not been looked at. And they replied within a few days, basically saying that they were behind on processing applications. In September, they were still processing applications from May. So roughly, we think we will hear back in either November or December. And what that will look like is they will send me an email to say, we are currently processing your application. Please can you send proof of ID, proof of pay slips, proof of address, and anything else that is necessary or that we think is necessary for them to know. Once I have sent that evidence, which I've actually got, like I could literally send it to them the same day that they request it because I have it ready. As soon as they have got it, they will then look through our application, look at the evidence, and make a decision as to whether we are accepted or not. If we are accepted, then that means we will be able to go on the website every week and bid on properties that we would like to be nominated for. But depending on the band we are in, which could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 1 being the highest band, 5 being the lowest band, that kind of determines how quickly it takes us to get nominated for a property. So when I say bid, I don't mean like money, like an auction. I mean, you're basically saying, I'm interested. So if we go on the website every week, we see a property that we would be interested in, we basically would say, click on a button, or I haven't seen this because we haven't had our application processed, but I'm assuming there's like a button that you click that says I'm interested or I bid, whatever. You basically register your interest in that property. But if we are, for example, band 3, but somebody in band 1 or band 2 had bid, they're probably more likely to get it because they are priority. They are higher up than us in the bands. So eventually, when we get nominated for a property that we bid on, we would get contacted to say you've been nominated, come view it, get the keys, whatevs. But if you get nominated and then you changed your mind, you have to have a very good reason, because if you do not have a very good reason, you will be suspended from bidding for 12 months. This is all that I've researched on the website, by the way, and from what we have spoken and from what I have learned from people that we know that are in council housing. So this is not from my own experience because our application hasn't even been processed yet. We have done this the correct way. So I have not applied as a single woman. I have not lied about anything because that is just not me. I don't lie. So I have applied as like both of us, and I'm the main applicant, he's the joint applicant. We have put our real salaries on there, and we are actually over what is allowed, and we are £37 over, and we don't know if that means they're gonna say absolutely not. Somebody that we know was like, it's £37, but then I was like, well, where's the cut-off? If they let us off for £37, they let somebody else off for £20, like, where is the line drawn? Where's the cutoff? Do you know what I'm saying? What we are going to do is send them evidence of my mental health issues, and we are going to send them evidence of my debt, because this is the thing, right? And don't quote me on this because I don't know if this is even going to get taken into consideration. They might look at the debt and say, well, that's your responsibility. That's on you. But when they look at our joint income, I want them to know that actually there is a chunk of that money every month that goes immediately to my bank as a repayment. I don't see that chunk of money. So when they're looking at the cash flow calculations, which I've been advised by a financial expert to not say the word affordability, say the word cash flow calculations, that when they are looking at that, they will know that they will be able to see that there is a chunk of money that I don't get, there's a chunk of money that goes. Do you know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying. So I am going to send them evidence of my debt. I am going to send them evidence of my mental health. But whether that is right or wrong, I don't know. But that is what we are going to do for us. And if you have a problem with it, I don't particularly care. So that's what we're doing on the housing front. So the next thing that I wanted to update you on was mental health. There is not much to talk about, actually. Basically, as you all know, I was diagnosed with like 4 personality disorders. There were actually 6 that I scored for, but 1 is no longer a personality disorder diagnosis. They changed the wording of it, and that means I don't score for that anymore. And the other one that I scored for was not included on my paperwork that my therapist sent me. So technically, by the paperwork, I can only go by 4 personality disorders. However, it wasn't a formal diagnosis. And I think ultimately, if anybody were to complete a questionnaire and put it through their system, the complex needs system, it probably would come up that you score for something. Even my partner, he looked at the questionnaire and he circled some like yeses and often and most likely, and like, you know, he probably would score for something as well. So it doesn't really mean anything. It wasn't a formal diagnosis, and originally I did feel like it was a diagnosis. I felt like, well, if I've scored for it, then you're basically telling me I have it, do you know what I mean? But over time I've kind of thought anybody could score. If they were just completing a questionnaire, anybody could score. That doesn't mean that they have it. I mean, we all probably have something, but maybe not enough to be a formal diagnosis. But anyway, I kind of was like, I don't think it's normal for one person to have like 4 personality disorders or more. I think for somebody to have maybe like ADHD plus a personality disorder, or autism plus a personality disorder, that makes a hell of a lot more sense to me. But for somebody to literally have like 4 personality disorders, I don't think that is right. I just don't think that's normal. So I started looking into ADHD because it was mentioned to me when I was waitressing. I had like several comments about referring to me and ADHD, and I got asked by customers if I had ADHD. So I spoke to my GP and I got sent a massive assessment form. I am actually going to show you it. So with my GP, you can actually put a request online. So you can ask a question online, or you can say your symptoms online, and within like 24 hours or 48 hours, a GP will come back to you. You don't necessarily have to call, have a face-to-face appointment. You can make it quicker by doing it online. So I put everything that I felt like I needed to say online, and like the next day I had an email from a GP saying, I think you should come in for an appointment, and it's going to be a double face-to-face appointment because it is not just my mental health. We're going to be talking about fertility as well. That's the next point that we're going to talk about. So it's like a double face-to-face appointment, and that is at the end of October. I think it's in a couple weeks. But regarding to the ADHD, I got sent a form which was called ADHD Assessment Patient Self-Report, and I had to complete a form about just like my basic personal details, and then I had to tick boxes saying whether I did these things: never, rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. And to say that most of these were either often or very often is an understatement. I then had to complete various sections about my personal history. So one of them was birth, one of them was early development, so like, did I achieve all my milestones, and like, was I delayed in things, areas of learning and everything, primary school, secondary school, GCSEs and A-levels, adult relationships and educational and employment history, current social circumstances and goals, and family background. I then had to get another form filled in, but this was ADHD assessment supporting evidence. So I had to get somebody who knew me now to complete it. So I got my boyfriend James to complete it because he sees me the most. And then the other was to get somebody who knew me from the age of 5 to 12. But it said if the patient does not have someone who complete this section, it can be left blank. And I left it blank because I don't know if anybody has watched my life story series, but I had a tough childhood. I was emotionally and physically abused from the age of 4 to 18, so 14 years, which means that anybody in my household would not have seen any ADHD symptoms because I was like very isolated and fearful, and you just wouldn't have seen those symptoms. Anybody who could have possibly seen those symptoms was when I was at school, because school was my escape. But I don't speak to anybody from school anymore, or college, or uni, or anything. I couldn't have that filled in. But at my double face-to-face appointment with the GP at the end of October, in a couple weeks' time, my GP will be referring me for an ADHD assessment. But I think the NHS waiting list for an ADHD assessment is like 3 years. Or so I've been told, but 3 years is a long time. I did actually look into getting it done privately because there is a place called the ADHD Centre, and you can either get your assessment done online or in person. But if you chose online, you could have your assessment done within like 2 weeks. But it was £695, and the prices vary depending on other things as well. But I don't have £695 because I am in debt. But I actually worked out, this is how crazy this is right now. Like, my financial issues are just beyond me. If I didn't have my debt, I would be able to afford that assessment in 1 month's pay. What? It is things like that that really bug me, because then I realise even more than I already realised that I've got myself into a very, very sticky situation. The next thing I wanted to update you on was fertility. So me and James have been trying to conceive since January 2021. I basically came off the pill in December 2020, and it is now 2 months away from being December 2023. So that would mean that I have been off the pill for nearly 3 years and still not fallen pregnant in that time. My double face-to-face appointment at the end of October is for the ADHD referral, but also a fertility referral. I've looked online at the NHS waiting list for the fertility referral, so like going and having your assessment and all the things, the whole shebang. But I think it is between like 3 months to a year. But yeah, so that is that. We have not fallen pregnant in the last 3 years, and the GP is going to do a fertility referral, and then we will basically be on a waiting list for that. The last thing I wanted to update you on is about me and James getting a dog. So this year we had a conversation and we decided that we wanted to get a dog next year. And this was when we were happy in the caravan. We didn't apply to the council for council housing. We weren't applying for the housing register or anything. But since then we have applied to the housing register. So we have applied for council housing in July, and James has now changed his mind. He does still want to have a dog. He definitely wants to have a dog, but he wants us to wait until we actually have a place. But he wants us to wait until we've been accepted by the housing, we have a place, and then we know for sure that we are actually allowed a dog there. Which does make sense. I have argued it. I have attempted to argue it, but I don't want to say this, but I have to say this. He is right. I know he is right. So anyway, before I gave in to that decision, I had been looking into it, and I was looking on a website called Pets for Homes, and I was looking at puppies, but we can't have a puppy. Like, you would need to be with your puppy like 24/7. Like, you cannot leave a puppy more than like an hour. We would need to devote all of our time in the whole wide world to the puppy, and we just wouldn't be able to do that. Obviously, I work from home twice a week. We don't work evenings, weekends, bank holidays, but there are 3 days that I'm in the office, or at least 2 days that I'm definitely in the office. So we would need to get a dog sitter, which there is a dog sitter in the village that we live in currently, so that is fabulous. And I'm sure it's not massively hard to find one, but ultimately I just think a puppy's not the best decision for us. I think we need to go to I think we actually need a rescue dog. So like, we need to go to a rehoming centre and get a dog that's like a year old or more. So I did some digging, I did some research into rehoming centres near us, and I found like 5, but there was only one that I was into, and that was because the website gave me the vibe that they actually cared, whereas the other websites gave me the vibe that they didn't care that much. Weird, I know, but that's how my brain works. And the one that I liked also had a Facebook page, and they were posting regularly and all the things. So I was scrolling through the dogs that they had, and they had 8 dogs. It made me feel like I was on Tinder. I've never been on Tinder, but I know about it. I know that you look at a picture and then you swipe left or right. And I was scrolling through, and I wasn't reading all of the dog's profiles, because to get to the dog profile you had to click on the picture, and if the picture didn't appeal to me then I didn't click on it. And I remember there being one dog in particular that I felt like it looked a bit scary. I was like, oh, looks like a scary dog, maybe not. Anyway, my phone did that thing that phones do, you know, when you're looking at something and then you go onto Facebook, you're scrolling through Facebook, and then you just by magic see a post about what you had just been looking at. And the crazy thing is, I was scrolling through Facebook and I had 5 minutes before been looking at this rehoming centre on their website, and I see a post about that rehoming centre, but it was actually a post on one of the dogs that I did not click on, the scary dog. The picture was the most adorable picture in the world. It had like a towel over its head where it just had a bath, and it just looked the cutest. It was cute AF. So that was when I clicked on the Facebook post and read about the dog, and it just broke my heart. The dog is going to be turning 2 years old this year around Christmas, was born in a rehoming centre and has only ever been in a rehoming centre. It has never actually been homed. I then went on to the rehoming centre's Facebook page, saw like 10 posts over a period of time for this dog, and one of their posts, actually most of their posts, not gonna lie, was saying that the dog had not had any inquiries, and it just broke my heart, honestly. I was like, oh my goodness, I want this dog. It wasn't even a whippet or a cockapoo, which are the breeds that we had spoken about getting. We want either a whippet or a cockapoo, or both in the future, but it wasn't. It was a lurcher cross, which sounds crazy because a lurcher is already a crossbreed anyway, but it looked like it had like a staffy in it or something. You could tell by the face and like the piercing eyes. Even though we were arguing about it, I decided to send an application form because I was like, you know what, we probably won't even get accepted anyway because of our living situation. We'll just be judged by it. So let's just do the application form and see. And I was correct. So I received a reply like 2 days later saying that unfortunately they did not feel like we were a match because he gets easily spooked. But I was confused. So I replied and I said, I was like, thank you for your email. Please can you explain what you mean by getting spooked? Because we live on 4 acres of land on a privately owned campsite in a quiet, peaceful village surrounded by fields. I'm not entirely sure what you think he'll be getting spooked by. So they replied to that email and they said that because he'd only ever been in a rehoming centre, they wanted him to go to a home where he could actually have his own room, like his own private room, because that is what he has just spent nearly 2 years being used to. And whilst that does make sense, it doesn't make sense to their initial reply to me, which was that we were not a match because he would get spooked. What has that got anything to do with a private bedroom? So what they actually meant was that we want him to have a private bedroom, but you live in a caravan, so he's not going to get that. But they just didn't say that from the get-go. I did reply, but I was like, well, you have 8 dogs. Who do you think that we would be a match for? You know, you tell us. Do you know what their reply was? Apparently, we're not a match for any of those 8 dogs. I was like, you have actually got to be kidding me right now. So that just absolutely pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie, I was pissed off. Yes, we live in a Torah caravan. Yes, it might not be ideal, but we have applied for the housing register, and yeah, we know we might not get accepted by the council, but sometimes I just think, why do rehoming centres always think about the living situation? Surely it should be about the people. We have so much love to give, and we would make sure that that dog is adored forever and ever. But they don't think we're a match all because we live in a caravan and we can't give a dog a private room. I mean, who actually does give a dog a private room? Come on. And then I think maybe that's why the dog has never been rehomed, because you're being so particular about what you want that actually you're just going to constantly be turning people away. Moving on from that, I think we are going to wait until we see if we have been accepted by the council. If we are rejected, then we are going to, or I am going to cut my hours at work so that we get underneath what is allowed for the joint income and then reapply. If we do get accepted, or even if we don't but we get accepted after, when we've taken that necessary step, then as soon as we are housed, we will then know what we're working with here. You know, if we are housed in an apartment or a maisonette, or if we're housed in a house. We were actually hoping that we would be able to bid on 2-bedroom houses, but now we know that we are most likely only going to be entitled to 1-bedrooms. And that means that when we do go on the website and we bid on properties, we'll only be shown the 1-bedrooms. You don't actually get to see the properties that you're not entitled. You'll just see the list of what you are entitled for, which is going to be 1-bedroom properties. I don't know about 1-bedroom houses. Like, I don't know if you even get 1-bedroom houses anymore. And we privately rented a 2-bedroom maisonette before we came into the caravan. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to an apartment or a maisonette. Like, I just want a house, please. Can I just have a house, please? Is it so much to ask? We'll have to go with what we can. Do you know what I mean? We can't be fussy. We need to be appreciative. You know, we need to be thankful and grateful that we can have anything at all. So we will do what we need to do. If it does come to having an apartment or a maisonette, then that is what we're going to have to do. We can work with it. Hopefully we will be able to get a private garden. I think that is something that's very important when it comes to adopting a dog from a rehoming centre. I think they want to know that you have your own private garden and not a communal one. Anyway, that is my Get Ready With Me life update. Thank you for watching this Get Ready With Me life update, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you, bye!
Everyone's lining up to see her. There must be something about her features. You'll find the beauty goes much deeper.